What if the most dangerous threats to your community didn't come from a foreign enemy, but from the very skies above you?
Okay, I want you to picture this. A low, rhythmic hum fills the air as this sweet-smelling gray fog drops completely silently over St. Louis. Now, cut to black. Ford Model A cars rolling slowly down dusty Alabama dirt roads right at golden hour. Flash to the burning streets of Tulsa's Black Wall Street, and then over to the haunting, orange, acidic waters of Tar Creek. I know, these sound exactly like scenes from some dystopian thriller, right? But the thing is, they're actually very real pieces of history outlined in our source material today. So let's dive into this explainer and explore what researchers are calling a deeply unsettling, interconnected blueprint. What if the most dangerous threats didn't actually come from a foreign enemy, but literally from the skies right above you? You've probably read some of the individual unsealed files over the years. You might already know the specific stories of toxic cadmium fog being sprayed over unsuspecting neighborhoods. But what happens when we zoom out, pull back the lens, and look at the entire map? Part 1. The Toxic Blueprint. Let's dive right into this. When you actually start connecting the dots between these historical events, a totally staggering picture emerges. Let's just rapidly map out this timeline to truly grasp the sheer scale of what we're dealing with here. In 1921, the thriving community of Tulsa's Black Wall Street burns to the ground. 1932 marks the beginning of 40 years of medical betrayal down in Tuskegee. Jump to 1953, and Operation LAC is literally spraying cadmium fog over American citizens. By 1956, Cointelpro kicks off its calculated structural violence. In 1962, the Centralia underground fire begins, effectively turning a whole town into a burning wasteland. And then by the 1980s, industrial extraction policies have turned places like Pitcher into toxic ghost towns, exactly like Tar Creek. Now, if you crack open a standard history book, you'll usually find these events neatly boxed into totally separate chapters. They're treated as anomalies, like these dark but completely isolated moments in time. But here's where it gets really interesting. The source documents we're analyzing today challenge that narrative entirely. They argue that these events are absolutely not isolated. They contend they're actually deeply, deeply connected. Which brings us to part 2, unmasking the ghost grid. So, when researchers started examining newly unsealed Freedom of Information Act files, they identified this terrifying, specific pattern. They call it the ghost grid. The core argument here is that all those individual chapters, Tuskegee, Cointelpro, Tar Creek, were actually just nodes on one massive interconnected blueprint, a blueprint of human experimentation and environmental sacrifice. And the absolute most unsettling part of this entire concept, it's those last 4 words researchers used to define it: still active today. I mean, you see these newly leaked, heavily redacted documents stamped top secret, terminated. Well, the data shows that the government didn't just suddenly grow a conscience in the 1970s and decide to pack up and go home. Nope. According to the source material, they didn't stop testing at all. They simply evolved their methodology. And this brilliantly illustrates just how striking that evolution is when you compare the historical records to modern data. Back during the 1953 Operation LAC, documents reveal they were actively mixing toxic cadmium with radioactive particles for one simple reason: just so they could track its spread on their instruments. And who did they target? Low-income communities. They specifically went after citizens they figured had no voice, no power, and zero resources to fight back. Now fast forward to today. According to modern environmental data presented in the research, current cancer clusters mirror those original 1950s military targeting maps almost perfectly. The physical fallout of the past is literally dictating our present reality.
Part 3. Secrets hidden in plain sight.
The research strongly suggests that this infrastructure didn't just vanish into thin air, it modernized. It morphed into this invisible system of control that surrounds us right now. The modern empire of information doesn't need the old physical methods anymore. In the past, this infrastructure looked like green army trucks with massive blowers spraying chemicals up into the sky. Today, it looks like those massive, ultra-modern digital data centers you see surrounded by barbed wire fences at dusk. In the past, extraction meant running physical, chemical, and radioactive tests on real human populations. Today, extraction means controlling the very digital code that keeps our hospitals, schools, and local governments running. And what about accountability? Well, in the past, things eventually ended in public outrage and unsealed files. But today, the true decision-makers are safely tucked away, hidden behind complex corporate bankruptcy shields. They've created a totally new kind of large area coverage. The authors point out that physical wealth has essentially been replaced by digital infrastructure. As real estate titans and corporate monopolies buy up the essential code that runs our daily lives, the documents argue that it's everyday taxpayers who are left footing the massive bill. The extraction policies haven't stopped at all. They've just moved from the dirt beneath our feet into the server racks humming behind locked doors, keeping the people at the very top completely shielded from the fallout. To put this into perspective, think about the town of Centralia for a second. There is a massive underground inferno there that has literally been burning silently right beneath the surface for over 60 years. And get this, scientists estimate it has enough coal down there to keep burning for another 250 years. The authors of the source material use this as a seriously powerful visual metaphor for exactly what we're looking at today. The consequences of these modern corporate extraction policies are exactly like that underground fire. They are deliberately paved over, the surface looks totally fine, perfectly normal, but just underneath, the destruction is still quietly burning away. Part 4. Opening the next box. But this is also a story about how power actually gets challenged, which shifts us right into how these massive secrets finally get exposed to the light of day. I mean, how do we even know about things like Cointelpro in the first place? The government definitely didn't willingly hand those files over. The original Cointelpro files only came to light because of 8 ordinary civilians. No high-tech spy gear, no insider security clearance. They used incredibly simple everyday tools, literally just crowbars and cardboard boxes to break into an FBI office. They grabbed the files and they dragged the truth right out into the sun. They quite literally forced the media to print the truth. It just goes to show that everyday people absolutely have the power to break this stuff wide open. Just think about the sheer weight of that action for a second. If those 8 regular individuals hadn't forced the media's hand, what other massive secrets would still be drifting quietly in the fog today? The source material makes one thing crystal clear. America has more secrets than it has states. The Unsealed files prove this isn't some wild conspiracy theory, it is a documented reality. And researchers, they are continually unsealing these files right now as we speak. History buried twice is history lost forever. This quote really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It completely captures the absolute gravity of why this matters to every single one of us. We simply cannot allow the realities of Tuskegee or Operation LAC or Tar Creek to be paved over and forgotten. Because if we let the past be buried, we lose our ability to recognize those exact same patterns happening in our modern digital world today. So, what does this all mean? Well, it leaves us with one seriously haunting question. The issue isn't just what was done in the past, it's what they are doing right now, simply waiting for someone to open the right box. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today. The absolute best thing we can do right now is keep asking those hard questions and absolutely refuse to let history be buried twice. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so we can keep unsealing the truth and analyzing these wild stories together, and I will see you in the next one.
If you want more of these every week, hit subscribe. It's the only reason I get to keep telling these stories.